Transitions can be really tough for kids, especially kids with special needs, especially during this time with COVID-19 when families are at home. Things are kind of crazy. There's a lot of transitions. Parents have to find themselves juggling all these different hats, being a mom as well as homeschooling kids. That can be tough to transition from we're going to do some home tasks to we're going to do some schoolwork. Kids might be saying, wait a minute, I'm not used to this transition. Usually my parent is my parent, not also my teacher. And that can be a really tough transition.
Kids just had a natural routine when they had school and then their therapies at home. So really there wasn't a need to have additional strategies because there just was that natural structure. And the kiddos, you get used to your routine. All of us humans are very routine creatures.
We'll talk a little bit today to help you guys with some transition strategies. We're going to talk about how to help your child know what's coming with language or a schedule. So with younger kids, I really like to use first then language. And this is just really simple language to help them know what's coming. And I found it works best when the child really wants to do something that can't be done right away. So there has to be a non-preferred task, a task your child doesn't really want to do, that has to be completed before a preferred task. So for example, say your young child really wants to play with their trains, but they have to go potty first. An example would be first potty, then trains. And I like to keep the language very simple. It doesn't even have to be a complete sentence. First shoes on, then outside. Really simple language like that to help your child kind of understand what has to be done.
Yes, definitely. And I've noticed that too. When I've used first then language in my sessions or when parents use it, sometimes we want to use a lot of words and it can be overwhelming for the kiddo, especially if all they're thinking about is that thing that they want to do. So simplifying that is so important to do. But yeah, I've used first then language definitely whenever I have kiddos that maybe we don't want to put shoes on to go outside, or maybe we don't want to eat all of our food because we want to go and play with our puzzle, or we want to do iPad. And so again, using that first then language, then children understand, oh, I am going to get to do this, but I have to do this first.
So with older kids, I found a visual schedule can be really helpful. And I've also found it very helpful during teletherapy sessions to help parents during this time with COVID-19. I really like to do a visual schedule with Post-its. I'll kind of have the Post-its laid out either linear or horizontal. I will have the child write words or pictures, and also the parent can add words or pictures as well. But having the child really contribute to like, okay, there's me in the morning brushing my teeth, and it kind of helps them understand, okay, I'm going to brush my teeth. There's me putting on my shirt. That's something I'm going to do. I've really encouraged families to really go over it the night before so their child can be ready for the next day. Maybe they wake up in the morning and review it again. Say, number one's toothbrushing. Once they're done with toothbrushing, they can take that Post-it off and put it somewhere else so they can see I'm progressing on my daily task. And I think it's really important to put activities that your child enjoys. Something that they're like, oh, okay, there's some things that I want to do on this schedule. I have to get through brushing my teeth, putting on my clothes, and then I can have breakfast, which is something I really want to do. So there's stuff that they understand that they want on there as well.
Yeah, definitely. I love that Post-it idea. I'm definitely going to try that with a few of my older kiddos. For my younger kiddos, there's a few apps that you can find for either the iPad or even on your phone. And then it lets you, similar to what you were saying with the Post-it, you take it with your finger and, you have a column and it says, we're going to do brush teeth, eat breakfast, and play game. The child really gets to play a role in his schedule or her schedule, because then when they're done, they get to use their finger and swipe it over. If you allow iPad or iPhone, then they get to use it there briefly, right? Some of my kids are motivated by that. But then for some of my kiddos, maybe we can't have schedule on the iPad or iPhone because using that device in itself is really distracting. So what I'll do is I'll help parents and we will make a visual schedule using Velcro and little pictures. You move it over or you can take it down. I've had several families that we worked together to create these schedules during these times, they said they're so grateful because they were trying to structure the day, but the kiddos just couldn't understand what was coming. And there's just a lot of anxiety right now in this time. But adding that in was just really helpful for these kids.
That's awesome. What were the names of the apps that you've been using?
One of my favorites, it's called ChoiceWorks. It's a really great one on the iPad or the iPhone. I think that one does cost, I think it might be $7 or $8. And I always say it is worth it because you can add and you can take pictures of your own objects in your house. Or maybe if there's not something on there, you take the picture and you do the voiceover yourself. And so kids love that too when they see their toy on their schedule. And parents can always ask their OT what they recommend too if they're going to look at a certain app that they might want to get.
Avoid open-ended questions. And we don't give the opportunity to say no when no isn't really an option we wanted to give. That can be helpful. Instead of saying, what should we put on your visual schedule today? You can say, number 1 on your visual schedule could be blocks or Legos. Which do you choose? Instead of saying, do you need to go potty? You could say, first, let's go potty, then we'll play outside. Restructuring language so kids feel like they have some control in some say, but we're not really giving them an opportunity to say no and just refuse flat out because that's not really an option we wanted to give them.
I think that one is one of the most important ones. They want to have some control in their lives anyways. We all do. So I love that. Yes, giving them the option. For parents that maybe have this question, well, what do I do if they tell me a different answer? For example, I have a little girl right now. We're working on it. Mom will say, do you want the green crayon or the yellow crayon? And she'll say, the purple crayon. Well, our options are green or yellow. Which do you choose? I think that's always, if they try to give you an answer of an option that you didn't get, just say, oh, well, that wasn't an option. Which do you choose?
Yeah, it can be really tough. And I've definitely found it tough for myself when I find myself saying, what do you want to do? And then they say, build a dinosaur. And you're like, oh, that wasn't really an option. I probably shouldn't have phrased the question that way. The use of a transition object. So this is something you physically hold when you are transitioning from one activity to the next. I've had a lot of success with it at preschools. Say it's time to transition from outside to inside. Maybe there's their favorite stuffed animal at the door, so they get to pick it up, hold it, transition from outside to inside. Physically holding something that's familiar that they use every time during that transition can help them visually and tactily bring more awareness to the transition. This is something I hold every time. I can give it a hug. Maybe it's a little bit heavy so they can really get some deep pressure input. That can be a little bit calming to hold with them from one thing to the next.
That is a really great tool that I have actually not utilized. So I love that you mentioned that because I'll definitely try having parents try that out. And I'm thinking of a few kids that would be really great. They have maybe a favorite stuffed animal that they like to have with them throughout their day. And I think it would be nice just to add that in naturally to the routines.
Some transition objects just can come very naturally for the setting. For example, when kids were leaving to go to school, carry your backpack as you're going out the door to school. It could even be, okay, now we're transitioning to schoolwork. Get your favorite eraser, your favorite pencil, and hold that with you as you transition into the schoolwork portion of the day at home. Using a visual timer. I found good success with phones just because parents always have their phone. What I like to do is I like to ask the child, would you like to do this activity for 2 or 3 more minutes? Then they get to have some choice in how much longer they're going to do their activity. Then I say, okay, we're going to set the timer. Now you press start. And when the timer goes off, it's going to be time to transition to the next activity. So I think, like you're saying, sometimes you can get the child to buy in if they're able to swipe one of their schedule images away, or if they're able to say, I want 2 minutes, I'm going to press start. They're bringing some awareness to their part in the transition.
Kids love them. But again, we have some kiddos that maybe that's not a good option for them to have a device. And so I've had families that I've recommended getting the sand timers. Then it tells us that you can write the numbers on there if that's what you need to do for a kiddo. Or you can just tell them, when the timer is out, we're all done. And I'll even give them an option, just like you said. I think it's really important to let these kids have some control, giving them those options. I'll say, would you like to do the timer or would you like me to set the timer? Usually they want to. They think it's really fun.
That's great. I've seen those Sam timers at the dollar store. Very useful.
Yes, definitely.